Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Hello, Colchester Parish. Tidings of comfort and joy. Words from the 16th century carol, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. And this week, on the second Sunday of Advent, as we prepare our hearts for the coming of Christ, we hear words of comfort and joy in the figures of Isaiah and John the Baptist. Firstly, in Isaiah, a people have just come out of exile, just come out of Babylon, captivity, or perhaps in more familiar language to ourselves, they've come out of lockdown. And their lockdown wasn't for days, months, but years, 60 years. And so they are a people full of anxiety and maybe hopes and fears. And through the prophet Isaiah, God speaks to them a word of great comfort and tenderness to calm their fears, but also to deepen their desires and elevate their hopes, for something great is coming. We can associate with the people of Isaiah's time, for we have also known captivity, anxieties, difficulties, and perhaps we've even entertained fears or reduced our expectations for the coming Christmas, that it won't be as good. There won't be as many people around the table. It won't be as joyful as it was supposed to be. And while it's important to acknowledge the real sacrifices that are being made this Christmas, the real difficulties that will be endured by you, the faithful, by us all, Isaiah has a word there that that which is coming far surpasses all that we could suffer and all that has come before. He proposes the coming not of a particular parcel or package, but of a divine person. And because of the greatness of what is coming, both Isaiah and John the Baptist have a single word, and that is prepare. They have news of such great comfort and joy, but if we are to truly receive them, we must prepare. If we have entertained ideas that this Christmas won't be as good as it should be, I want us to balance that narrative with a different way of seeing things. This Advent is supposed to be the greatest Advent you've ever had, leading to the best Christmas you've ever experienced. Why? Because both Advent and Christmas, and indeed all the seasons of the church's year, are primarily, firstly, spiritual joys. They are firstly things that we experience in the spirit, and then they're made manifest at the dinner table or at the tree or visiting family. But primarily the joys are spiritual ones. And because the joys are primarily spiritual, the only obstacle to those truly spiritual joys are not physical things, but also a spiritual thing. So the primary obstacle to the spiritual joys is spiritual realities, namely sin. Sin is first and foremost an offense against God through a failure to love. Sin is somehow believing in a lie that, and here's the big lie, that we're not loved that much. You know, when Isaiah talks about God coming and filling in the valleys and laying low the mountains, what are those valleys? Those valleys are places of sin in which we have accepted the lie that we're not loved that much. And so we create valleys and hidden places and holes so that we can hide, because deep down at the core of a sin might be that you don't believe, or I don't believe, that I'm loved that much. Similarly, the mountain is also a place of deception. A mountain could be the great show of pride and showing the world who I am and how great I appear before others. And it's a mountain that has been falsely created on the lie that I'm not loved that much. And so I have to create this mountain or hide in this valley. The coming of the King is primarily a spiritual thing. And when we allow or prepare our hearts for the coming of this King, as we are, he can turn a crib into a palace for a king. When we primarily prepare our hearts for the spiritual reality of Christmas, then no worldly, earthly, or physical thing can take away from the joy that Jesus wants to bring. For as that same hymn says, Christ came to save all men from Satan's power when we had gone astray. But oh, tidings of comfort and joy, that Christ not only came 2,000 years ago, but he comes to us in 2020 to give us great spiritual joy. So I implore you to focus on the spiritual reality of the coming of Christ this Christmas, and to make a real resolution to go to confession before the celebration of Christmas, that you might truly prepare your hearts, the crib that is to be the place of the King who comes to give us himself this Christmas. Let's prepare the way for the Lord. Have a very blessed second week of Advent.